welcome back to the Cool Fears channel. I'm your host, Just the Bat Madrigal, aka the Buff Collector. The information on this channel is intended for adult collectors and not children. And welcome to episode 64 of Coffee and Toys, guys. As always, we'll go over this week's channel updates, this week's toy haul, this week's toy news, and so much more. But first, if you're new, then welcome. This channel is all about cool action figures, analyzing them, hunting them, taking pics of them, and of course, playing with them. If that's your sort of thing, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and hit that bell notification icon so you stay notified when I do upload new content. If you do enjoy this video or any other videos that I put out, please remember to give them a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. With all that out of the way, guys, once again, welcome to episode 64 of Coffee and Toys, guys. Once again, unfortunately, no Coffee and Toys live this week. Our guest, Austin Nicholas, had a few other live streams to do this week, so he didn't really want to schedule another one for this week, which actually ended up working out for me too, because I ended up having to do something not out of town, but a little distant from my city on Thursday, and so I was busy up until late at night, so it really wouldn't have worked out for me either. But hopefully in this coming week, I know I've been saying that I've been pushing it back, but hopefully in this coming week we will be able to get it done. So yeah, this shouldn't be too long of an episode. There's not too much in terms of channel updates. That's pretty much it. It's the same that you've been hearing for the past few weeks. Maybe next week we'll do Coffee and Toys live. But yeah, guys, when this episode will be premiering, it will actually be the Super Bowl. So I'm just kind of curious to know what you guys think, who's going to win. I'm just curious to know who do you guys think is going to win, who you're rooting for. Let me know down in the comments below. Me personally, I am hoping that the Eagles beat the KC Chiefs, but we'll see. Mahomes is playing on a bum ankle, and he is a great player though, so he did pull out a phenomenal game last week. So we'll just have to wait and see if his ankle's ready for it or not. It is the Eagles, it is the Super Bowl, and so it's gonna be a big game, and they've been wanting it. They've been pushing all season, showing how badly they want it. So yeah, it's gonna be a good, fun, interesting game, and we'll see who wins. So with that being said, guys, why don't we go ahead and move on into this week's toy haul. Last week I was good. I didn't go on offer up. Well, I did go on offer up, but I didn't really see anything that I wanted per se. Unfortunately, this week I got into my head. Two things that I couldn't actually physically put on this desk because it wouldn't fit. I guess it would fit, but it would be a hassle. But I guess the first thing that I did purchase this week is 2 more DTOFs, guys. Oh man, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and squeeze one more in right here next to these right here. I'm gonna have to cover up my window a bit more. I think I did the math, and I'm gonna have to move all of these about 3 to 4 inches over to the left, so that way I can squeeze one in on that back corner right here. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to figure something out to do with my Boba / Jango Fett display right here with the helmet as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to squeeze one more in right here. I figured I already can't see this corner of my TV. What's putting in one more right here, so I went ahead and did that. And then the second one that I purchased is gonna be actually going in right behind the camera right now. So it's basically I guess a shelving like this that goes all the way up right behind the camera at this moment. But after this week, it's going to be a DTOF, but actually this week is a little busy, a little chaotic, a little hectic with the Super Bowl and everything. So in order to have time to get my videos done for this week and, be able to enjoy the Super Bowl and everything and be ready for the week, I am not going to tack on the project of me putting in 2 new DTOFs. And on top of that, I got to get the lights in. I got to do all that stuff because, when you put in the DTOF, it's the easiest time and the best time to put all that stuff in there, because after that, you have to deal with all this. So yeah, it's just wild to think that I'm going to be able to fit 2 more in here somehow, some way. I'm always finding ways to finesse space in this room. You know, eventually it's just going to be my bed, and I mean, it already basically is just my bed and a narrow walkway. Do I really need a queen size bed? No, I'm just kidding, guys. But yeah, so it's crazy to think too, because like originally I had just purchased the two white ones right here, and I was like, that's all I can fit, that's all I can do, and you know, I'm not gonna fill out two DTOFs, like that's not gonna happen. And then literally, I think it was that week or weekend, I found the third one, and I was like, you know what? I can fit one more in here and make it just like a wall of DTOFs, and it'll look nice. It'll look good. You know, I had some empty space on this side. I think I had set up some of those flimsy Amazon shelves on this side, and I was just like, if I have the space for those flimsy Amazon shelves, I have the space to put in another one of these DTOFs. So then I went ahead and picked up this one. Unfortunately, as you can see, it is a brown one. The two new ones I picked up are also brown ones. So oddly enough, I ended up with one extra brown one than I do have here. I thought I'd have more white ones than brown ones, but yeah, so it kind of works out in a way because now I can have a brown one here, a white one here, a brown one here, and a white one here. So it kind of looks like it was intended and a pattern that I was kind of going for. But yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, one of the details I did buy, it is kind of scuffed up right up here, so I'm thinking of putting it in this corner right here because if it's a standalone one, it's gonna stand out so bad. As you can probably tell, they are already put together, so they are used DTOFs, and I was able to get them for an unbelievable steal of 50 a piece. So yeah, I was super happy for that. I was in negotiations to pay $60 for one of them from somebody, and so I was pretty happy to pick up two of them for 50 a piece. I was really trying to push for 80, but he just wouldn't budge, so I was able to pick him up at that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting trying to figure out how I'm gonna fit that one in. Well, not figure out because I already said I just have to slide everything down either 3 inches, or alternatively, I can take all this stuff out and slide everything down this way and put the other one in right there. But like I said, it is scuffed up right in here, and so I'm wanting it to be buried in the corner, so that way it houses what it needs to house, but at the same time, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb in terms of the damage to the DTOF, which was not disclosed to me when we were discussing purchasing. And that's kind of like the thing with OfferUp guys. You get these people that are on top of their stuff, and then you get these people that don't really sell, don't really do this kind of stuff, and so when they do let go of things, they kind of forget these little details. And I could tell by this guy's profile that he's not a big time seller. He was just trying to make some space, move this stuff out. So yeah, unfortunately, it is a little scuffed up. I'm gonna see if there's anything I can do about that. There is this one listing that has parts listed, and I do believe it is brown. And if they have the top piece, I may look into replacing it with that one. But I'm gonna have to wait and see. I'll probably go on OfferUp probably as soon as I'm done filming this, so that way I can see if it's still available or not. Because just like with the lights, it's probably easiest to switch out the top before you put it in and everything. So I'll definitely look into that. But yeah, guys, so that's pretty much, I guess that's kind of ties into a channel update in a sense, because it's going to add into the display here of the setup and everything. So yeah, should be cool, should be interesting. And let's see if we can figure out how to actually fit. Well, I keep saying figure out, I already know I have to move things that way, but let's just see how it looks once I fit it in and everything. So yeah, guys, that brings us to this guy right here. Once again, obviously I was on OfferUp. Like, I really need to just delete that app, but I have stuff listed there for sale as well, so I don't want to delete it because then people get in contact with me and whatnot. So yeah, this guy right here, brand new, still sealed in the shipper. The guy actually opened him up from the shipper in front of me, and he was like, I was gonna open it up, but I wanted to wait for you. I just want to make sure that the figure is good. I'm not selling you a bum product. So that's what I meant when I said that there's people that sell on OfferUp and know what to do and know how to cover all their bases, versus people that kind of just dabble in it and don't really sell too often, and they kind of just utilize it to get rid of things here and there. So yeah, guys, I was able to get this guy for an unbelievable price, and I was really torn because I was like, I really want him with the speeder bike. Like, what good is a biker scout without a speeder bike? However, in looking at my collection and looking at my DTOFs, so I don't know if you guys can tell, But this right here is my Mandalorian shelf. So it was originally intended to be a single shelf, and that's why I kind of going back to the whole 2D tops, not filling everything out. 3D tops, that's enough. I was really trying to just condense it all to one D top, but two things kind of popped up into my head. One, it was really hard to pose up the figures, and these figures definitely deserve to be posed up when they're displayed. 1/12 figures you can kind of get away with just standing them up in here and there because there's so many of them. But with these guys deserve to be posed up and to look badass when they're on display and whatnot. So I quickly came to realize that there was absolutely no space in here for all of the Mandalorian figures, including the Mandos, Luke Skywalker, the Imperial troopers that I had bought from the show, and I was even looking to add on. So I decided to split the two shelves, and in doing so, I kind of unintentionally created a new section for me to um, continue to add on. Before that, I had no real reason or want to have an Imperial Trooper shelf from the Mandalorian until I separated the Mando shelf into two, and I realized I have all Mandos up here and I have all Imperial Troopers down here, except for Luke, which is going to tie into another thing, but we'll get to there when we get to there. And so that's what really made me think about a Mando Imperial Trooper shelf. And so now my dumbass has to get the Incinerator Trooper and the Death Trooper to at least get a single representation from each trooper. I mean, I know there's also that one with the gray helmet that he goes undercover as. I may or may not get him. If I can find him for a good deal, I will. But if not, then I probably won't. But the Incinerator Trooper and the Death Watch and this guy were definitely some key wants when I decided, like, okay, yeah, I've kind of created myself another shelf to continue expanding into. And so, while it would have been amazing to get the speeder bike, it would have cost at least an extra 350 plus the space. It was just not working out in terms of the math and everything in my head, especially considering it would be sitting on a lower shelf. And one of those kinds of pieces is kind of like an upper shelf piece, but my shelf specifically dedicated to that category is going to be on the lower end. And then eventually Luke Skywalker will move down to the bottom shelf, which I am going to make my Jedi and Sith shelf. So I will have my Plo Koon, my Kit Fisto. I'm going to get the new Mace Windu back there. And then I'm going to get Darth Vader and Darth Maul, my two favorite Sith. And then in front, it's going to be Anakin from the Clone Wars, the Hot Toys one. This Luke Skywalker, or even potentially the new Mando Luke Skywalker, we'll see. I may end up selling this guy off. And then finally the Obi-Wan Hot Toys that they just announced from the Clone Wars. So that's going to be the bottom shelf right here. So it's not going to be this one in particular. I think it's going to be this one right here, but it's going to go Clone Troopers, which are actually currently right here, right behind me. Clone Troopers, Mandos. So these guys are going to stay right here. Then we're going to have Mando Imperial Troopers, and then Jedi and Sith on the very bottom. Now for here, I still need to add the Armorer, the Heavy Mando, and of course Costco Reeves, which is coming out later on. I know Axe Wolf was released and everything, but I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of him. He kind of just is there in the background. And obviously through the trailer for Season 3, we know that more Mandos are on their way. So they may expand into a second shelf themselves. But yeah, so that's the plan for that. On this side, I will tell you what the plan is, because we are going to have movie Batman. We are going to have Arkham Batman for now, since it's more filled out. We're going to have comic Batman, and then we're going to have the Dark Knight Rises down there. And then on a side piece, like that's why I say I think Star Wars is going to be over here, because here we're going to have an open side shelf right here, and I think that's going to be the Batman right there. And so right here in this middle one, we're going to have movie, and by that I mean obviously we have Jack Sparrow, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones right there, just kind of sitting together. Well, it's kind of just like movies, stuff with one-off pieces. And so these guys are going to move down here. I also am going to be getting a Top Gun figure, as well as a 007 Daniel Craig figure. So those two will fit into one of these two right here. And then once again, like I said, I'll have two empty ones right here for the time being. Eventually, one will become the Batman. And then on the fourth one, I'm going to have my Sam Raimi Spider-Man, my comic Spider-Man shelf 1 and 2. And then I'll have two empty ones under there, which I may begin a Book of Boba Fett shelf with Boba and his throne. And I am going to be getting the chromed out Mando, so I'm going to be replacing him. And I may be putting him in the Book of Boba Fett shelf displays to have a Mando representation there, since I would essentially have three representations right here. And I am potentially, he's on the very bottom of my list, but eventually I may get a Mando Boba Fett right here to replace my Mythos Boba Fett, and then he will go into my Trooper shelf, and even that Trooper shelf may extend to a second cube. So a lot of big changes coming to the display back here, so I'm excited to do that. But it's going to come in phases, obviously, with the prices and everything. It's going to come in phases, but this guy was part of phase one. Phase one being getting two more DTOFs and adding to one of the new shelves that I unfortunately created myself to add to. So yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this week's toy haul. Like I said, just this guy and two new DTOFs. But yeah, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and move on into this week's toy news. All right, guys, so let's of course start off with my favorite toy company, as always, Mezco Toys, especially this time because this week kicks off their 3-week Mezco Fair. So 3 weeks of announcements, 3 weeks of releases, 3 weeks of, oh shit, there goes my paychecks. But thankfully so far, nothing really that I've wanted, nothing really that they've announced that I'm like, oh shit, I need that, I'm gonna need to put some money down for that. Not to say they haven't had some announcements. So the 1/12 figure that went up for pre-order or order, I don't really know, I didn't pay too much attention because I wasn't into it, was the Jackie Vampirini, and this is a variant of the Hoods Vapor figure in a kind of 1920 style. So I just personally don't have any of the Hoods figures, and I'm not a big graffiti person, a big tag person, so it just doesn't fit into my collection personally. I wouldn't have any real ideas to make up for him in terms of photography and all that, so I've stayed away from the Vapor Hoods figures, both the burnout version and the original one. But I will say that those two versions came with a lot of accessories, and I mean a lot of them. In fact, the first one being the first Mezco 1/12 scale figure or 1/12 collective figure to have the interchangeable feet or shoes, and so that's a really cool feature in my opinion. But they, like I said, they just came jam-packed with so many accessories, whereas this one, for I believe the last one that came out was 120, the burnout edition, but that one came with like two outfits, two sets of shoes, a bunch of accessories, a bunch of stuff. This one is sitting at 112, and it comes with significantly less than even what the first one came with. It comes with a lot of head sculpts, I'll give them that, but in terms of other accessories and stuff, it's pretty lacking and stuff. So even if I was a Hoods collector, I probably might have sidestepped this one, just because it seems like a lazy reuse, re-release of a figure, and two, is not to the standard that I would hold a Hoods Vapor figure to be. So other than that, the only other 1/12 collective announcement that they made on this week, the first week of their Mezco Toy Fair, is that Prune Phase, Dick Tracy's villain, will be coming to their 1/12 collective line. So it looks like they're looking to expand on that Dick Tracy line. So good to know for those of you that collect the Dick Tracy line. So that's pretty much it in terms of Mezco news for this week. They did have obviously Living Dead doll news and some other stuff, but we only cover 1/12 here. So I look forward to next week and seeing what they're going to announce for this week's second week of their Mezco Toy Fairs. Sticking with the M's, let's go ahead and talk about McFarlane Toys, guys, because man oh man did they have a week. So last week we did talk about the brand new McFarlane Gold Label classic comic Robin figure. Now this isn't exclusive to the McFarlane Toy Store, so be aware of that. The one thing I do want to kind of pay attention to and draw attention to is the amount of hands that we're getting with this guy. I mean, that's a lot of hands when historically we've been lucky to get one extra hand with some figures. I mean, now he's been doing better and, giving us two, but this Robin is coming with 6 to 8 extra hands. I don't remember exactly, but you saw him in the image. So it's crazy to think that. But the other thing is, he comes with a pair of trigger finger hands. Yet he won't even include a grapnel gun. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it, Todd. I don't get it. The other thing that they did show off and announce that is going to be a Walmart exclusive is another gold label figure, and that being Vampire Joker from DC versus Vampires. So we've gotten Batman, we've gotten Superman, and now we have the Clown Prince of Crime. So that will be coming out very soon as well. That wraps it up for the DC Multiverse line. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Batman 66 Retro line. Because pre-orders are now open for King Tut and Two-Face. And two other things from the line that we had no idea were coming and were big surprises, but very welcomed ones nonetheless. And that being the Wayne Manor playset, which is in the very same form as the Batcave, as well as the Villain's Lair, and also the Batboat. Yes, we are getting all the vehicles, it seems like, from this TV series. I mean, we've got the Batmobile, we got the Batcycle and Sidecar, and now we're getting the Batboat. My question is, are we getting the Bat Helicopter? And if we are, it better, and I mean better, Todd, come with some shark repellent spray.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
Because that is just the key accessory to that vehicle. That's just it. That's just it, Todd. So if you do that, I will definitely buy that. I've stayed away from the Sidecar and Batcycle, and I may stay away from the Batboat only because they take up a lot of space, and I'm just not that invested in that TV series. I'm pretty content with the figures I have from that TV series and that line display. You know, I don't need Mr. Freeze, I don't need King Tut, I don't need Two-Face. I'm pretty content with the villains that I saw in the Batman 66 movie because, like I've stated, I have seen the TV show, but I grew up watching the movie itself. I didn't have access to the TV episodes, but I did have the 66 movie, and I would watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. And the only villains that appear in that one are Julie Newmar's Catwoman, the Riddler, Penguin, and Cesar Romero's Joker. So to me, that was Batman 66. Now, since then, I have seen the episodes. I have watched them on TV. And so, yes, I do realize there's a vast array of other villains and stuff like that. I don't have that same nostalgic tie to them as I do with those four villains. Now, you could say the same about the vehicles because all four vehicles make an appearance in the movie. You have the Batmobile, the Batcycle and Sidecar, you have the Batboat, and of course you have the helicopter. So, like I said, it's just the space for them, that is preventing me from buying them. Although, if I do happen to see them on clearance at a decent price, I may just pick them up. So with that being said, guys, why don't we go ahead and talk some Super 7 news? Because last week they teased us with a glow-in-the-dark Slash figure, and this week they showed off and solicited pre-orders for the glow-in-the-dark Slash figure. They also showed off their brand new Rockstar Ultimate figure, Cliff Burton. Now, these kinds of figures I am definitely interested in if they can just get to some really good bands. Not that they haven't touched upon some good bands already, like Ghost, and I think they did Ozzy, but I'm really waiting for them to get to GNR. Guns N' Roses, the second they drop that pre-order, you best believe I'm going to be pre-ordering that. And they just started working with the Sex Pistols. They just released some reaction figures. I'm really hoping for a Sid Vicious, Johnny Rotten, and Mick Jones Ultimate figure set. I mean, that would just be the best in my opinion. So those two are new announcements from Super 7. Moving on to some Hot Toys news, guys. Ant-Man Quantumanium is right around the corner. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you excited? I personally have not been this excited for a Marvel movie since No Way Home. So I'm really excited to see it. I've been hearing a lot of mixed reviews and stuff like that. And I've also heard the reasonings why behind the mixed reviews and all that. So I understand them, but at the same time, I am still hyped and excited to see it for myself and see what Kang the Conqueror is all about. So obviously, in tying in with Quantumanium, they did release their newly updated and sculpted for Quantumanium Ant-Man figures. Starting off with, of course, Ant-Man himself. We are also getting, of course, well, it's in the name, but the Wasp. And of course, we can't get those two without Scott's daughter, Casey Lane. So we are getting those three from Hot Toys. So super excited for that. Like I said, though, I do not collect MCU Hot Toys. As it is already, I am in plenty franchises lines for Hot Toys as it is with just this right here. So for me to get into MCU, that would just be a death sentence for me. I would literally have to sell everything else in my collection besides my Hot Toys. So as amazing as they look, I won't be buying. But moving on to another 1/6 scale company, we are talking some So-So Toy news, because I believe last week they announced this and I just totally forgot to write it into my notes, but they are releasing their own 1/6 scale Prince figure. This is obviously unlicensed, obviously not good with the estate, but if you want to add a 1/6 scale Prince figure to your collection, here he is. This is something that I've kind of thought about, toyed with, is adding 1/6 scale rock stars to my collection. There are some fantastic Jimi Hendrix ones, and I'm just like, but they just also cost so much, and it's just like, ooh, if they do that, if they do Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, The Doors, just the Stones. Like, I want it to happen, but at the same time, I don't want it to happen because my wallet and everything. But it would be a fantastic collection if they did. So that's it in terms of 1/6 scale news. Let's go ahead and talk some Marvel Legend news. So as I've stated before, Marvel Legends can't survive without making an announcement per week, whether it's a single figure or an entire new Build-A-Figure wave. And this week, guys, of course, once again, tying into Ant-Man and the Wasp, they unloaded their brand new Ant-Man and the Wasp line. This is a new Build-A-Figure wave, so the Build-A-Figure will be Casey Lane. And you're probably thinking, well, why is she? Well, you have a giant Ant-Man, now you're going to have a giant Ant-Woman Casey Lane figure, because it's not just a basic Casey Lane, it's a gigantic Casey Lane figure. So you'll have a giant Ant-Man and a giant Ant-Man's daughter. So that will be pretty cool, although it begs the question, are we going to be getting a Casey Lane down the line as a regular scale figure, just as a single release, or in a future wave? We'll have to wait and see on that. But included in this Build-A-Figure wave is Ant-Man, of course, although it's shown with him not to have any Build-A-Figure pieces. So you can buy Ant-Man himself and not have to worry about collecting the other pieces. But if you do want to build Casey, you will have to buy, of course, Wasp, and of course the big bad of the movie, Kang. Now the next 4 figures that you have to buy are not MCU figures. They are comic book figures. So you will have to purchase the comic book Marvel Crossfire, who is essentially just a Deadshot ripoff, right? So I don't know who came first, but you guys can work that out. You guys can Google that and whatnot. I'm not going to spend time doing that. But we are also getting a future Ant-Man. So this ties in with Ant-Man and the Wasp, but then it doesn't at the same time, because there's no such thing as future Ant-Man in the MCU. But it ties in because it's an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. So that would make sense. And another ripoff of a DC villain, we have the Marvel Comics Egghead. Now, going back to the 66 Batman, there was Egghead in that TV series as well, and he is technically a Batman villain. So, once again, who came first? I don't know. That's for you guys to Google. And last but not least, we are also getting Ultron, which I am thoroughly confused, because didn't we just get a comic style Ultron last year with like the Kirby Crackle? Even this one comes with a Kirby Crackle, but I could have sworn we did. Maybe this one was a slight redesign of Ultron. It's a different version of Ultron. I have no idea. But that is the Casey Lane Build-A-Figure wave. So with that being said, guys, that wraps it up for this week's toy news. So Once again, as always, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Coffee and Toys. I really do appreciate it. And a quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Entertainment Earth. You can check out my Entertainment Earth affiliate link down in the description below if you guys want to check out some really cool figures as well as help support the channel. With that being said, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please remember to give it a like, share, comment, and subscribe. I've been your host, Jesse the Bat Madrigal, aka the Buff Collector. And as always, have a great fucking day. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video. If you enjoyed those pics, you can find the full images over on Instagram at Cool Figures. And I do also have a separate Instagram account for my more thought out, planned out, more edited pics called Epic Shots by Cool Figures. Check it out. If you like what you see, leave me a follow there as well. And if you guys like unboxings, check me out over on TikTok at Cool Figures. That's where I post all of my unboxings. And check me out every Sunday for Coffee and Toys, a weekly Toy News Toy Talk podcast where we will go over all the latest and great toy news, reveals, pre-orders, weekly toy haul, and so much more. And join me every Wednesday over on Instagram for Coffee and Toys Live, where I will speak to a new guest every week about toys, toy hunting, toy photography, and so much more. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to me talk about toys. I really do appreciate it.